Welcome to the Huntington Way Show, where we help parents navigate the educational maze. I'm your host, Yvonne Strachan, author and founder of InspirationalHomeschooling.com. And today I am speaking with LaNissir James. Oh, I just love speaking with LaNissir. We are going to talk about high school transcripts. Last time we talked about encouraging homeschool parents to homeschool through high school. So this transcript part will be absolutely wonderful for all of you who are considering high school or even are in the midst of it. This show is brought to you by Huntington Learning Center and Inspirational Homeschooling. You're listening on Power Talk 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM. Please like and subscribe to Power Talk 1040 on YouTube. Welcome to the show, Lannisser.
Thank you, Yvonne. I'm so excited to be here in Colorado. This is exciting. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's so great to have you here. And I'm hoping that the weather just holds out for you all weekend. So, I would love to talk about transcripts, and I know you have a plethora of information. So, we're just going to delve right in. Do parents only need to create a transcript if their child is going to college?
No, transcripts should be everyone who homeschools. Every homeschooler needs a transcript. It's the pretty bow that goes on the end of your homeschool journey. And it's the only document that people get a chance to see to know what happened in your transcripts. It's not an official document, it's just a document that's super important. So the best gift you can give for graduation is a transcript.
Yes, absolutely. And I was just thinking about my husband, who is 50 years old now, and applying for another job, and they asked for his high school transcript.
Yes.
So it can come up years after you graduate.
Yes.
So, what is best represented on a transcript?
Well, what's best represented is the academic achievement on the transcript. It should be your five core: English, math, science, history, foreign language if you're college bound. Those are the most important things. Of course, you're going to have your health, your PE, all of your what I call unique electives. So you want to show a story of how your 4 years in high school went. That's what should go on it.
Yeah, and that is the key thing, academics,
Yes,
right?
yes,
But we can be kind of thoughtful in what we use for our electives.
yes, creative is what how I like to
Yes,
describe it.
creative.
Creative. So, like my son who does construction management, he loves it. We gave him academic credit for it. He's putting in the hours, and so it shows up later. So your transcript will tell a story about your student. It should give us clues if they were interested in computers, if they
Mhm.
were interested in engineering, math, science, medical. So it should tell a story about how those high school years went.
And that's such a good point because transcripts, sometimes we think about, okay, well, we have our math and what English course did we take and so on. But these electives do tell that big story
It
about their
does.
interests.
Yes.
And that is so incredibly important when they're applying for jobs,
Yes.
when they're even going to college and
Yes.
what they're going to take in college, what they're going to major in.
That's so true.
Yes. So, what is the best format for a transcript?
Typically, a yearly format is best. Yearly, where it has your ninth grade, your 10th grade, your 11th grade, your 12th grade, you have your subject line, as well as your amount of credits and the grade. Subject transcripts are an option, but they're typically not used for college bound students because colleges and universities want to see more of the details of when you took algebra, when you took geometry, that kind of thing. So I always tell um, homeschoolers limit the use of the subject transcript and focus more on the yearly transcripts.
Yes, that sounds like a really good advice. And the other point I've heard you say before is the order of your courses.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so same sort subject order. You might have heard me talk about
Mhm.
how the transcript needs to be easy for the reader to understand. So if you start with English, math, science, history, then each year should have English, math, science, history in that order. And maybe your half credit classes at the end of the transcript and your core classes at the beginning. So that's important.
Yeah, that makes sense. Put your core classes and then your few electives right after
Yes.
that for each year.
Yes.
Yes. So, how do parents figure GPAs?
Oh, that's a fun one. Mom and dad are in math, right?
Yes.
So the most important thing you need to understand is that A's are typically 4 quality points, B's are 3, C's are 2, D's are 1, F is 0. And so that's the most important part about calculating the GPA. You want to connect yourself with good calculators. There's a great calculator on the transcript service at HSLDA. They have an amazing calculator because the last thing you want on your transcript Is your GPA miscalculated?
Oh, yeah, that could be.
How do you explain that,
Yeah,
right? So,
absolutely. And who's teaching math?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So, what extra details should homeschool parents include on that transcript besides their courses and extracurricular or electives?
Electives.
Yes.
Well, the other things that they need to include is their homeschool name, right?
Hmm.
Name your school, have a homeschool name, the address, email address is so important. And in the notes section, if you've taken any other academic um, help, you might have gone to some community college, etc., that should be in the notes section.
Hmm.
So that's important because you're telling the reader, hey, check here for my other work. And only put places that you want people to check because they will check. So that note section becomes very, very important. And if you're college bound, that's what they will use to give you the transcript credit in the college level from what they see in the note section. So if it says ABC Community College, then you give them permission to contact them and then they'll transfer those credits over.
Yes, so that is really an important point. We don't want the notes section to be used or misused.
That's right. That's right. Not too many, right? And then
Hmm.
also academic only. Use a high school resume for um, those non-academics, the sports, the things that you want to say, the volunteering, etc. That should not go on the transcript.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So, what are the building block subjects needed for colleges, and how can we be sure that our children get it?
Well, the core, pay attention to the core. There's so many curriculums out there. There's so many ways to skin a cat, but you want to focus in on making sure you're clear about it being an English class, clear about it being a math class, history, science, and then of course your foreign languages, and maybe that's Latin. So those are kind of the core, and there are many ways to approach it. Try to avoid using curriculums on your transcript because they don't need to know the name of the curriculum, they need to know the class.
Hmm.
And so sometimes I encourage parents to say English 9 and then say British lit and composition. And you tell them, hey, that's my English 9 class. So it's important to make sure that you communicate clearly on the transcript. So no call is required to call you because your transcript's so well done.
Yeah, that sounds great. And tell me about colleges. When they get all these transcripts,
Yes.
how do they look at them?
Well, they don't spend a lot of time. So that's one of the things that homeschoolers need to be aware of, that you want a great, well done transcript so that when it hits an academic office, it checks the boxes. It's got
Hmm.
those four, those five core. It tells a clear story. It's got a clear calculated GPA, and you even have a GPA scale. You might need to put the GPA scale on it. And those are the ones that they can, approve early, right? You get selected to go to college early because your transcript has checked the boxes. So that's important.
Yeah, that sounds like a really important
It
thing.
is, yes.
Yeah. So, if your teen doesn't know what they want to do, how do you pick and organize their electives?
Yeah, that's a good one. I always say go as far as you can see. When you
Hmm.
get there, you'll see more. Find out where their passion is, and then look at those classes and those things that they're doing. Remember, everything does not have to go on the transcript. So you want to be intentional about what you put on the transcript. So if your son starts in, say, Civil Air Patrol, and they're leaning towards, going to, flight school or that kind of track, and then they later say they want to do engineering, that's kind of how you decide, what should I put now? And it may change, and it usually does change.
Hmm.
Usually a ninth grader is not real sure, they're undecided. But by 10th and 11th grade, they kind of get a clear feel that they want to do this and not that.
Mm, that's such a good point. Well, Nisser, thank you so much for talking to me about transcripts. When we come back, we're going to talk about more about transcripts and other things too. Welcome back to the Huntington Way Show. You're listening on Power Talk 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM. Please like and subscribe to Power Talk 1040 on YouTube. I'm your host, Yvonne Strachan, and I'm speaking with LaNissir James. And we are talking about transcripts, and we will be talking about resumes, essays, and more. So I thank you for being here, and I thank Inspirational Homeschooling and the Huntington Learning Center for bringing this show to you. Thank you for being here, LaNissir.
I'm excited, Yvonne. Thanks for having
Oh,
me.
it's so great to have you here. So let's talk about this one last thing about transcripts, which is electives. So, how do you create a scope and sequence for some of these unique electives?
Yes. So the electives, you kind of want to have a bit of a rubric of what will happen first, second, how the student will progress through the class. And that's called a scope and sequence. And there's so many ways to create it. You can get ideas from the internet, right? Or from a
Mhm.
class that may already exist in college. There's also Udemy, Udemy. They have adult classes that they can take in all kinds of subjects. And I'm known to kind of copy the scope and sequence off of there, right? And create your own. You can be creative. So you can use curriculums and all kinds of things. The most important part is that you know, the homeschooler, what you're going to do first, second, third for your homeschool. And your homeschooler knows. That's what's most important.
Yes, it is good for them to know what they are going to be studying because then it gives them something to look forward to.
Yes,
And that's one point that I wanted to make about electives is if you use something that they are interested in with
yes,
their electives, they will just enjoy school more
yes.
and they will delve deeper into that learning with more vigor.
Yes, and you can be creative. Like my daughter, she was planting a strawberry garden, and people show up and say, "Is that homeschooling?" And I say, "Yes, it's botany, right?" Or my daughter's painting a fence, and they're restoring a house, and I say, "Yes, this is art. This is a part of her art." So you have to find out what your passion is that your student has, and get creative in ways that they can achieve those goals. Even my daughter, who is finishing up an environmental science degree, she did her biology on the beach. Find fun things. When kids love education, they run to it.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't think that you know what your child might want to do in college or after they graduate high school, sometimes it's just a matter of watching them, right?
Yes.
So somebody that is writing and reading a lot, they might be interested in editing.
Yes. Or
So
English or
yeah.
journalism. Yes,
Yes, it could be
absolutely.
any of those things.
Yes.
So they may not just be able to articulate what it is that they want to do, but they know what they like,
Yes.
and you can watch them and give them more of that.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go on and talk about resumes. So you had talked about some of the things that shouldn't really be on a transcript that should be on a resume. What should parents do? What is best represented on a resume?
Yeah, a high school resume is important. In fact,
Hmm.
it turns into a job resume.
Hmm.
It begins with simple things like the student's name, perhaps their GPA, maybe if they're taking honors classes, AP classes. It goes into some of their experiences, whether it be volunteer, maybe they're in sports, right? Maybe they're in different clubs. It tells a story about what else they do outside of academics, right? They
Hmm.
see our transcripts as homeschoolers and they think, oh my gosh, you must sit in a corner and homeschool all day. No, I do other things. And that's the place to list those other things. So I love the high school resume, and there's so many creative ways to use it.
Right. And you can also articulate that they are excelling in leadership or are
Yes,
gaining some leadership skills or some of these other soft skills that are really needed as they go out and enter the careers.
absolutely.
So, what should be included on a resume besides that? I mean, maybe address or some of those types of things?
Sure, you can have basic, you could put just the city if you want, right? And you can have maybe the student's email address, a way for someone to contact them. Let me tell you another good part about the resume. When you're asking for a letter of recommendation from someone, there's nothing more powerful than handing someone your transcript and your high school resume. Because now they can write about you academically and outside of the classroom. It's the two most important documents.
Yes, and then that resume can be built upon and changed.
Yes,
It can be like their starting point, as you will, as they add jobs
that's right.
and search for careers in the
That's right.
future.
That's right.
So, what is the um, best way that a parent could help their child create a resume? Do you think a child should be part of that?
Absolutely. It's their resume, it's their story.
Yes.
So there's simple templates available on the internet that they can find. And it's just a matter of finding a format that matches the information that you're going to put on the resume, right? So if you have other clubs, like I love Congressional Award, right? It's a
Hmm.
great way, congressionalaward.org, it's a great way to summarize their volunteer work, their sports, all kinds of things onto a resume. So you want it to tell a story. That's what's most important. Because remember, these two documents you don't get to talk over. So you want it to tell a story about the student.
Yes, you can't go with them,
No, you
right?
can't. You
the
can't.
the resume and the transcript don't come with the mom.
It doesn't come with a mom.
So let's talk a little bit about essays too, because essays are so incredibly important. I feel
Yes.
like a lot of kids are required to write essays for college applications,
Yes.
for scholarships.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that. How can a parent help their child learn how to write an essay well?
Yes, so you need help, right?
Hmm.
Because essays are a quick way for people to learn more about how well the child writes, their grammar usage, all kinds of things that are in their head. I love essays. I always tell a student that your topic sentence and your clincher should go together. So you should be starting the paragraph and ending the paragraph somewhat similar with your points inside. There's so many great curriculums out there that will teach you how to write. And as parents who are a little nervous about it, get your hands on some of those curriculums and help your child write. Start by writing about themselves, about what they enjoy, writing about a book. And so when they get to the essay, they're ready to talk about whatever it is the essay prompt may require.
Hmm. And one other point that I have given my children, my college student, especially in writing her essays, is sometimes I would be editing her essay and I'm like, well, what's the question?
Yes,
So sometimes you have to really take what the question is and put that into that first sentence. This is what I'm going to talk about. And it gives you
yes.
um, kind of that direction so you don't get off topic.
That's right. In fact, I have my students write their essay with the question on top and remove it as the last part because you get distracted, and the person who's reading it is expecting you to respond to the prompt, and then perhaps the student has gotten off track, and that's a problem. So that's a good tip.
Yeah. So I think that essays are just such a good thing for colleges, and they're such a good thing for scholarships as well.
Yes.
So, how do essays apply to scholarships?
A lot of times a scholarship will require a written statement from the student. Very, and it's more common than uncommon. They too may have a writing prompt, or they'll ask the student to write why they should get the scholarship. And
Hmm.
so students need to be able to express themselves and understand the need of why that scholarship is so important to their education. So students need to be ready to answer those questions. And I want to remind you that some scholarship requirements require a live interview. My daughter had to do a live interview on leadership. And so students have to also be ready with those soft skills of how to interview live too.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other points that I've seen where my children have to use on essays is, what is a hardship and how did you overcome it?
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
That is a big part of how they believe you will handle education when it gets rough. Because college is not easy. And so
Hmm.
they do. They want to see how you handle adversity and how you write about it and how you um, overcome and see it as a silver lining, if you will. So,
Hmm.
some stories are in progress. I know for us, we had a tragic situation and my kids wrote about it in their essay. And I think it tells a story about who they are when they get a chance to write about their
Hmm.
adversities.
Yeah, and I think that's just such a great point because it shows like how they would handle things in college
Yes.
and in the workforce too. And when
Yes.
you have those interviews, they usually ask that same kind of
They
question.
do. Yeah, they don't want to hear all the pretty parts. They want to know how you handle the tough parts, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Do you have any other tips on writing a good essay?
My other tip on writing a good essay is practice. I think essay writing is practice is important, and I am a fan of Grammarly.com. I have to
Mm,
say that when the student goes alongside of Grammarly and they see their common mistakes, grammatical mistakes, they learn to correct it themselves. So I require all of my students to run your paper through Grammarly before you send it to me, and that helps. So I just want to encourage people to get resources out there and also make time to have other people edit your document and look at your document. Never write something that you haven't seen several times and turn it in because
yeah,
there's always an error, right?
that is so true. And having that second pair of eyes makes a huge difference.
Yes.
I know my husband was talking to me about editing my daughter's college essays, and I'm like, oh no, I'm still editing them. If she asks me, I'm going to edit
Sure.
because you should never hand in that first draft.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
LaNissir, thank you for all this great information. Can you share how people can find you?
Yes, you can visit my website at lanissirjames.com. That's LANISSIR James.com, where I have my mom's manual. Thank you for having it here. But if you need information on homeschooling, go please to HSLDA, www.hslda.org.
And I want to remind listeners that HSLDA does offer a transcript service. So by all means, use it. It's
Yes.
a great, valuable resource for all of you. This has been Yvonne Strachan, and I'm today's host on the Huntington Way Show, where we support you in educating your kids. Thank you for joining us.